Hello and welcome to the West Ham Way YouTube channel, another episode of All Things West Ham. There's loads to get through in tonight's episode. Our thoughts on the Man City game, the outrageous price of the alcohol prices at the London Stadium. Nicola Vlasic and Diop look to be on the move pretty soon. The son of Maxwell Cornet from last week. And finally, what's been our favourite opening game of the season since the year 2000. So if you're new around here, please subscribe to the West Ham Way YouTube channel and subscribe to the Patreon. Links scrolling down below. And yeah, hope you enjoy. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. So Dennis, Jeff, Mark, thanks for joining, lads. As I said, loads to get through tonight. So let's get right on it. So obviously the Man City game, lost 2-0 on Sunday. Obviously it's disappointing to lose any game, especially the opening day, but we did play Man City, champions, the team to beat this season, in my opinion, again. Erling Haaland scored both goals, and the two of probably many for this season, judging by how he played. Let's get right into it. So, on your thoughts on the game. So, Mark, do you want to kick this off, mate?
Yeah, obviously disappointing, really, isn't it? The first game, obviously, the excitement and everything of that sort of event for the season. But you always know when you're playing Man City. I always view these games really as being a bit of a free hit to a certain extent because there are no expectations on us to go out there and win. To win the game, and we saw how happy we were. Obviously in the last day of the season where we got the draw against them, what that sort of meant, to the fan base, and I was obviously a bit of a party atmosphere anyway with it being Noble's last game. But I think generally looking at the game, I didn't have a major issue with how we set up. Obviously we were quite defensive, effectively obviously 4 at the back and really sort of 5 across the middle of, across midfield. My issue really was that when on the rare occasions that we did get the ball, we just sort of lumped it back long in the hope that Antonio might be able to run after it. There was no, and if he did get anywhere near it, there was no real support for him. And I felt as well that there were a number of players, which I'm a little bit more worried about this, who looked off the pace in terms of fitness, like match sharpness, and that. For the first game, you do sort of expect the players, irrespective of who you're playing against, really to be a little bit more, match sharp. But, having said that, you've also got to give credit to Man City, although I didn't think they really got out of anything more than probably second, maybe third gear at best. I did feel that some of their passing in the game was impressive. And obviously the way that Haaland, when he did run in behind, as you've already said, Bill, I think he's obviously going to terrorise a lot of defences this season. It's frightening, really.
Yeah, I totally agree, mate. Your thoughts, Dennis? Obviously, me and you were both there, mate. But your thoughts on a couple of days on?
I mean, pretty similar to Mark's, if I'm honest. I mean, I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, calm down, it's Man City." And I'm not panicking by any stretch of the imagination, but we never had a foothold. We had we came out punching the first couple of minutes, and we had Bowen's shot that was well charged down. But other than until Skamaka came on, we were very toothless and didn't really get too much of a foothold. There's only so much Declan Rice can do. At sometimes he was coming, I'm in the West Stand. A lot of times he was coming to help cover Cresswell at left back, coming down left side. So we were a little bit all over the shop at times. That being said, when Skamaka came on, gave us a lot more of a focal point, which is a positive. And also, don't want to get too disheartened by the result because it is Man City. And also, when we have played them, people will say, "Oh, we made more of a game of it the last 4 times we played them." We were always we'd had at least 6, 7 games under our belts, if not more. Those times it's our first game of the season, and if you remember to the opening game last season against Newcastle, or last 2 games against Newcastle, we started pretty slow. Admittedly, we won one of those games through Newcastle's own ineptitude, but we're not exactly quick starters. I mean, you want to go season before that, we got smashed 5-0 by Man City. You want to go season before that, we got smashed 4-0 by Liverpool. Go before that, we got smashed 4-0 by United. You go before that, we lost narrowly to Chelsea. We haven't won on the opening game of the season since Billick's first season in charge. So I wouldn't worry too much about losing this game. I'd worry if we have a similar performance against Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't disagree with that, mate. And Jeff, your thoughts on the defeat?
I haven't been too stressed about it. I mean, you're going up against Man City on the first game of the season with cold legs, with one fit centre half. and a fullback playing at the back there, going up against Haaland. What are you going to do? I mean, we lost 2-0. We conceded 1 goal from open play. We could have been humped 5 or 6. So I felt all right about it. I thought we held a good shape. I was disappointed that we didn't create anything when we got the ball in midfield at all. As was previously mentioned, it just sort of got pumped up to Antonio in the hope that he could chase it down. We obviously did open up a little bit and try and create something, and then got instantly punished with a ball in behind, and obviously Haaland got onto the end of it and scored, and that was the only bit of resistance we put up on it. So I just think it's one of them things you've got to take it on the chin and move on, haven't you? The big test, as Dennis said, is we need a result against Forest. That's a non-negotiable, isn't it? Like, we can give up shit points to Man City on the first game of the season, but if we're going to struggle against Forest, and that's the problem. So I think I'll wait until then before I start worrying about anything really.
Yeah, I think it's just one of them. You got to put a little bit of perspective. Obviously, Man City's squad, their bench. I mean, how much does their bench cost? Do you know what I mean? And you've been managed by one of the greatest managers of all time. So, and okay, they weren't at their best, but still played really, really well. Some of their passing, their patterns of play were just out of this world at times. West Ham can't, even like PSG and other Champions League sides won't be able to live with Man City, and haven't done since Guardiola's took over. So, I'm like you guys. I'm obviously you don't want to lose, but I've seen worse over there. Some people on Twitter saying it was embarrassing. Far from that. Absolutely far from that. And I think there were some positives for me. I think Soufal, looks to be slowly get back to his best. I think him and Grealish had a really good battle down down there. Obviously down Man City's left and down our right. I think Scamacca, Dennis, you mentioned him. I thought his cameo, his half-hour cameo. I thought he looked electric. Actually, not just physically. He won a few headers, but like some of his passing, which I don't know if many people would know about how good his passing range was. Some of his balls across the sort of 4 nails, and Soufal on the right was pretty good. And yeah, I think it's just one of those defeats, and you move on. And but that's the thing. Our season starts against Forest, isn't it? So obviously they want to be a bounce back after they limped to a 2-0 defeat. Could have been worse at St James's Park on Saturday. So be a tough test, but we've got to go there and get the points. So just moving on from the City game, the build-up was obviously the excitement about the season, but also the ridiculous and shameful alcohol prices that increase at London Stadium. Now, whether it's a West Ham decision or it's the LLDC decision, frankly, it's absolutely irrelevant because it's a disgrace. It costs too much. It costs too much as it was anyway, and the fact it's gone up by well over £1, £1.50 in a cost of living crisis as we are at the moment is shameful. And plus you're not even getting a good quality of whatever you're buying for. So, Jeff, do you want to, as a publican, do you want to kick us off on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the game. I'm buying beer in bulk, multiple times a week, and I know the prices, and it's absolutely unnecessary to be hiking up the prices that much. £7.30 a pint, especially for something like I think it's Amstel we have over there. I mean, I'm knocking it out with £3 during happy hour.
£7.60 for a beer Moretti.
There you go. So, well, that's it. So I'm doing Moretti for £5.60 to come to me, eh?
Exactly.
We're making money there. We're making money at £3 in happy hour selling it. That admittedly not so much, but you're still making 50% on it. It's unnecessary to be selling booze that they have bulk bought in huge proportions, more so than I ever could. For £7.60 a pint, it's obscene, and so they call it a working man's club and all this kind of stuff. It's nonsense, isn't it? Because I mean, I can't afford to be going out drinking pints at £7.60. It's ridiculous, isn't it? So it's disappointing. Yeah. You'd think that the club would do more to bring that price down. As you said, we don't know whose decision it is, but there's always negotiations, deals, subsidising that can be done if they wanted to, but they don't want to, so they don't really care, do they?
but say what you mean, Jeff. No, bang on, mate. Dennis, your thoughts?
I mean, we've just come back from holiday, and I think a joke we used a lot is, well, I'm not paying £13
the old Jeremy Clarkson.
Yeah, Jeremy Clarkson top gear. Getting around at London Stadium. I've not got that kind of money. I'm not paying 13 quid. Here's another thing. It's not just alcohol prices that have gone up. It's $4.50 for a Diet Coke.
Yeah.
And I had said I stuck the Diet Coke was on the stadium. It's ridiculous, and it's not going to be the football club. It's going to be it's not even going to be the London thing. It's going to be the company that I can't remember the name of it, but someone actually pulled up their profit margins. It's the company, it's the provider that or service provider for all the drinks and beverages, and I think this company made 4.3 billion. An American company. Someone went to the trouble on Twitter to pull it all up. But it is ridiculous, and I think the club is going to have to step in at some point because they put the season ticket prices up, they put matchday ticket prices up, like the matchday ticket price is ridiculous, and on average for a band A ticket, City you'd have been looking at paying about 100 quid before you even putting travel and food into that for a day out at the football stadium, and they advertised it as being affordable football, affordable. So eventually it's going to have to happen, but I don't think the club really's had it. It's not. I don't think it would have been the club's decision. It would have been the company that's providing the service, and it was the same at the concerts in summer. People were saying that the prices were just absolutely crazy over there. So it's probably a decision that's been made at the end of the season. I think there was a joke on Twitter. The only way to make our morale go up any higher is if you just put the prices of the beer on the side of the new Berlin Wall that's between the home and away fans. That's the only way I think match day experiences can get any worse. Is that where we are? But I mean, not going to lie, there's not an awful lot we can do. And like Jeff said sarcastically, it's a working man's game. Football's been going this way for a long time. I can remember when it was $2.10 for a Coke when I used to go watch Watford when I was about 14. So bring back those days.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably, I mean, you're right. It's probably not a club decision, but as Jeff said, surely they can do something about that. I mean, look at how Leicester City treat their fans with free scarves and free tokens for beer, free beer tokens, all that kind of stuff. And West Ham, well, under GSB, obviously that's never the case. I mean, Mark, what's your thoughts?
Well, I think it's been said. Really, it's absolutely ridiculous. I remember when we moved in. I think it's been touched on a little bit there that obviously the club doesn't see any of the catering money, so therefore they're probably not involved in setting of the prices. Which, as Dennis has just said there, if the concerts being set at whatever it was in the summer, then that would sort of back that point up. Really, I actually did look at the Cows prices just out of curiosity. And they're in about £5.50. Again, obviously, just backing up what obviously Jeff knows better than us, but just out of curiosity, even if you don't know what the prices are, surely someone working within the LDC would have done a quick little bit of market research to see, right, there's X amount of pubs in Stratford High Street. How much are they charging? Right, what have we got to charge to get people into the stadium before the game? To get them to spend their money, because that's ultimately what they want. And
Mark, that's far too sensible of a strategy. You serious? That's far too sensible and noteworthy of thinking of what the people.
Yeah, at the end of the day, look, I know obviously there are, that I would imagine that the prices are probably that high for one reason and one reason only, and that's obviously when they convert the ground out of football mode into athletics mode, and it costs them millions of pounds. So I guess their argument is, well, we've got to try and offset that cost somehow. I don't agree with it, but that's the only reason that I can possibly think of that they've come to that decision. But as you guys have said, absolutely crazy.
No, definitely. I mean, what was it like, Dennis, for you at half time? Because I sat up in the Bobbin Whopper, and there was hardly anyone at the drink stalls.
Where I am, there's just 3 sort of stalls really. So as I came out, as I told you, I think I told you at the time, it was like Jumanji at half time. Like honestly, it was just pandemonium. Sorry, where we were. I was just trying to get a Diet Coke, and eventually found one that was only serving Coke, no food, no nothing. It was just serving like Coca-Cola and sweets. I managed to get served pretty quickly, but it was bedlam. the two other ones that were serving alcohol, but also a lot of them had ran out of food as well. That's what I kept hearing. They ran out of food in the West Stand. So it seemed a little bit like there was a nightmare all round from the confectionery side of the London Stadium, which, by the way, I'm still a little bit shocked it's called the London Stadium. Wasn't that meant to be a temporary name for a few months, and it was going to be named something like, I think it was called the Heineken Stadium or something they were looking to call it, or something stupid.
I think we were beating each other up in the stands when that was getting touted about, and understand
yeah.
They want to be associated with them, and I don't blame them, to be honest.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, I mean, they said they should have kept, in my opinion, should have kept it as the Queen Elizabeth. That was a slightly more dignified name than just, oh yeah, we're at the London Stadium. Ooh.
I prefer Olympic Stadium personally. Anyway, so back to on the field matters. Nikola Vlasic, after only one season, looks set to be joining Torino, possibly a loan with the option to buy. Latest news coming in from X. Dennis, you want to update us on this one?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like he's been. I could only imagine he's going out because someone's coming in. Because Cornet was meant to be an addition rather than a replacement. So I'm not having it that because we've got Cornet, he's got to go. So I'd imagine someone's coming in after his goal. And I'm stealing a tweet here. After he scored from Narnia, it wouldn't be surprised if Sarr is probably being lined up to be signed after that. He has the agency. He's part of the agency that Warburton's linked with. But one thing I'd like to point out with the Vlasic deal is it's not actually as bad as it looks on paper. I know we signed him for, I think it was 25 million last year, but because of the conflict in Ukraine, we actually managed to write off the final 2 installments of that, I think, because we don't, because obviously it was a Russian club. So he actually only cost us about 15, 18 million, I read. So a loan, I'm assuming there'll be a loan fee with an option to buy for 15 million, means that we more or less recoup our money on him. So it's not as big a loss. It is a shame for me because I did want to see him played as a 10, which is his strongest position, and not out wide left. He's not really played out wide, I don't think, in his career before going to West Ham, but here we go. But I trust Moyes' decision with this. He's seen him on the training pitch, and if he thinks he can get better or he thinks that he's surplus to requirements, I think Moyes has built up a bit of trust with the fan base, and I think we should probably respect that decision. Wish him all the best, and I'm sure he goes over to Italy and plays very well.
Yeah, fair enough. And you, Mark?
Yeah, just picking up what Dennis said there, I agree about that Moyes should really have the trust of the fan base. So if he hasn't got that now after 2.5 years, then something's drastic.
It's never going to, is he?
I think if you look across some of the West Ham social media groups, it's the complete opposite to that, which I don't think, as Dennis has said, if he's not going to get that now, he's never going to get it, is he? I mean, I think, obviously, I wish him well, obviously going. I think there might be another Italian club as well sniffing around as well now. I'm not quite sure who that is, but it is a shame. He obviously hasn't really been. I think maybe a couple of games he's maybe come on as a 10 and maybe I think he started against Sevilla in the away tie in the Europa League last year. When he's come on, he hasn't really torn up any trees as such to go. You know what, he deserves a starting place or a run in the team, but then likewise, it is difficult if you're only getting 10 minutes here and there each week. Look, he hasn't been playing in his best position. Clearly, we've all seen him before, playing for Croatia, that he was very, very influential playing in that number 10 role. Why he hasn't had that opportunity, I'm not really sure. There's obviously something that Moyes has seen that he's not convinced about. And I think unless he has an outstanding season in Italy, I think that this will probably be, looking ahead to next summer, I think that Vlasic has probably played his last game for the club.
Yeah, spot on, mate. And you, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm obviously disappointed to see him go. I just feel like I've not seen enough of him to know if he was going to be any good or not. Like he's just had 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. Like you say, he's been out of position. We try so many guys on that left wing that aren't left wingers. I mean, Fornals was stuck out there for ages, and it wasn't until we moved him inside that we went, hang on a second, he's a bit of a player. He got away with it because of his work rate and the amount of defensive work he did helping out Masuaku or Cresswell, so that was okay. But Vlasic, I just feel that he's not really had a chance. And I wanted to see it. I thought this season he might be coming in feeling fresh, feeling good. He's had a decent pre-season, hasn't he? He's had a little run of games there. And you never really know if a player's going to fit until they've had a run of games, I don't think. I mean, it's rare that you get a guy that just hits the ground running. I know it does happen sometimes. But he never didn't get that chance. But then we don't see him on the training pitch. We don't see behind the scenes, do we? So there's got to be a reason that he didn't get that chance. There's got to be something that Moyes has seen that he didn't like. I mean, he's a player that Moyes knows well, so it is a bit peculiar. But like the other boys said, I trust Moyes entirely, especially when it comes down to transfers and picking the right players for the team. So if he doesn't think he's a fit, then he doesn't think he's a fit, and we move on. But it's wish him well, and I hope he does well where he goes. But yeah, it is a shame.
Yeah, no, agreed, lads. I was there for the Reading pre-season where he played as a 10. He scored. I thought, here we go. This is going to be the sort of main season for Vlasic this season. But obviously, Moyes disagrees, and you can't argue with that. I mean, if he does go after his loan, if he does go to Torino and then signs for sort of 15 to 20 mil, that sort of fee, then you can't really argue considering he's barely played for us. So if we get somewhat near our money back, then it's just fair enough. I mean, not every sign is going to come off, and I wouldn't say he's been a flop, but he hasn't obviously been a roaring success either, has he? So, and I think it might be one of them where I'm sure X will update, but it might be one of them he's been unsettled. Maybe he's not been able to settle with his family or whatever it is. So it's just one of them. You move on and then get someone else in. So hopefully that'll be the case. Another player that looks to be on the move is Diop. Been at West Ham obviously a lot longer. Fulham have agreed a £15 million deal, which has been reported by The Athletic amongst other companies. Yeah, nice one, Dennis. that gift then, whew, one of them, wasn't it? So for me, for Diop, yeah, I think that time's come for him now. He's been at the club long enough. Joined obviously in the summer of 2018, that first season he had under Manuel Pellegrini. I thought he was fantastic. Obviously he got rave reviews from Jose Mourinho when he was Man United manager after we beat them 3-1 at London Stadium. I thought he was immense. I thought we got the next big thing here. I thought that we probably if we sold him that following summer, we might have probably doubled our money the way he played. I thought he struck up a really good partnership with Fabian Balbuena that season. Ultimately, we finished 10th, and I thought we got a real good player on our hands, and he just completely nosedive in terms of confidence and form since then. Really, I think the start of last season in the early Europa League group stage games and the early Carabao Cup games, I thought he started to get his form back. I thought, here we go, he's going to maybe not get that sort of game against Man United form back, but be more consistent, make less mistakes, and he reverted to type, unfortunately, in the second half of the season. So, we were hardly unlikely to get, I think it was 22 mil or 25 mil we paid for him. So to get 15, considering he's been in poor form for about 3 seasons now, I think we've actually done all right to get that kind of fee, to be honest with you. So, time to move on for Diop. It's a shame. I think he's got to get real raw attributes to be a real top-level defender, but unfortunately his concentration, as we've seen that, is absolutely shocking, and hence why we're selling him. So, Mark, I mean, your thoughts on obviously Diop it looks like he's going to go Fulham, as I say, but what do you make of that? And also, is that the right decision? And what do you make of Diop's time overall at West Ham?
I think you can add on about regarding his concentration. I think you can also add in there as well about his times, his positional play. I think that lets him down a lot, especially when he was playing on that, the left side of the centre, either in a 4 or in a 3. He sometimes got lost. I don't know if that was because of being alongside Creswell at times. I'm not really sure, but I think it's. But sorry, I'm probably a bit harsh to keep constantly picking on Creswell, but there's always one player at a club, isn't there? I think to be honest, as you said, he hasn't really kicked on at all. Unfortunately, I think he's sort of got he's probably put together sort of 4, 5, 6 games in a row. And as you say, you think, oh, hello, he's back. He looks really good. I mean, he'll then offset that then with another sort of, a couple of bad games. And he just looks a little bit shaky. He might not necessarily make a mistake leading to a goal, but there's something that happens that you just think he looks shaky, that the opposition get a chance. I think for 15 million, I think is a good bit of business for us. I think we've done well there to move him on. My only issue, and obviously as Jeff touched on at the beginning there, obviously with the amount of injuries that we've got at centre half at the moment, we've only got Zuma, although he looked like he was struggling in the second half on Sunday. So, where are we with the centre half situation? Because we're letting Diop go, and hopefully, obviously there's been talks we've been speculating today about 3 or 4 different players. It sounds like there's movement happening. If it's going to happen, it'll have to happen pretty quick. But that would be my only concern, that we're looking to try and put, square pegs in a round hole again. And we that's, for where we are now as a club, you don't really want to be having to do that on a consistent basis. And hopefully that was, Sunday was just a one-off with Ben Johnson obviously being there, not any other choice. But I just hope that these deals are maybe a little bit further down the line than what's been reported, because, at the minute we might not have any centre halves on Sunday, depending on Zuma. But yeah, I think, look, wish him well, as we've said with Vlasic, and good luck to him.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Jeff, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the disappointment is that he looked like he had all the promise, and then, as Mark said, he just didn't kick on, did he? He just never took it to that next level, where you can have that them sort of performances, but consistently, because that's the difference between good players and great players. It's just doing it consistently every week, instead of having flashes of showing what you can do. So yeah, I thought that was disappointing. I was also disappointed that he didn't play at the weekend if he's fit. I'm sure he didn't make himself available, I think was what the quote was. Maybe because he's leaving for Fulham, or whatever. But when he's not left, he's getting paid. They're his teammates, and he's needed. So he should, a young player like him should be taking every opportunity he can to play. So I was really disappointed by that. There's politics involved, I know, but you're getting paid to do a job. You're under contract. There's 60,000 supporters that are turning out, and you can't. I don't fancy it. We don't get the option of that, do we? And I don't think he should either. So I don't particularly wish him well. As Mark said, I don't wish him well at all. I'm not bothered. Do you know what I mean? Get off you go, mate. See you later, and I won't give it no thought. Like if he gets relegated, which he will, because they're a tin pot club that just piece it together every season. Can't play the Premier League and just get stuck in the Championship. And I think Championship's his level, so he'd probably be all right there.
It's like Jeff Stelling's rant about Middlesbrough being a fine place to live. That was
Jeff. We're all friends. Just speak your mind next time.
It's an absolute liberty. Looks, there's Haaland, and he goes, "Oh, that's all right. Ben can deal with that." And I just, it ain't on. That's it. They're a team, and he's let his teammates down. I've just got no time for that at all.
I'll be honest with you. I would rather Ben Johnson go against Haaland than that clown.
Yeah. No, me too. To be honest with you,
it's the principle, Jeff.
It's the principle. Yeah. But Ben Johnson's better at centre half, and he's a fullback.
I think before I come to you, Dennis. Before I come to you, I thought it was quite telling how far Diop's confidence and ability has regressed since he joined. When Dawson obviously come in, been relegated a couple of times. They thought, well, he's not going to play that much. Maybe the odd game, cup game, whatever. And when X, on his updates was saying that Dawson's ahead of Diop in the pecking order, they thought, how far? Like, obviously, Dawson has become a better defender than any of us ever thought of. But even so, how far has Diop's confidence and ability regressed to the point where he's behind Craig Dawson in the pecking order? That summed up for me. Dennis, your thoughts? Obviously, you're not a fan of, but let's keep it respectful. But what's your thoughts on obviously, first season aside, obviously Diop hasn't shown the ability, is he?
Yeah, I mean, you know what my name for him, which is the clown, and that is just what I refer to him as, because he might as well be playing with clown shoes on. That goal against Brighton still gives me flashback nightmares, like the dog on West Ham clips. I still have that. And again, I think I'm just going to, have 2 words for you: Kidderminster Harriers. The game we got absolutely murked by non-league strikers and exposed. And when Fredericks had to basically cover for him at centre-back most of the time, because his positional play, like Mark said, was, he had the turning circle of a U-boat.
I'm not sure it was that good, was it?
Yeah, it wasn't that quick, was it?
don't know, mate. You know, a bit like an oil tanker, a bit like something out of Captain Phillips. Yeah. I want to touch on what Bill said about how he's fallen, because I remember that game against United where he totally marked. I think both their attackers. I can't remember who it was that played up top for them that day, but he took them completely out of the game. And Mourinho was like, "Yeah, I regret not signing him. He's going to be a top class centre back." And when Mourinho took over at Spurs, there was all this talk of Diop's going to be his main signing. He wants to sort out Spurs' defence, and Diop's going to be the guy to come in and do that. We were worried about that. And then, as you know, what coincided with the fall of Diop was playing with Roberto, in my honest opinion, because around that time, he even started the 1920 season in relatively decent form. He had a very good game against Watford away, keeping what's his name, Andre Gray out of the game for most of it. He's a type of striker that he normally doesn't like playing at, that runs at him. But yeah, it was just downfall after downfall. He had a couple of decent games. I mean, Burnley at home last season was very good, nearly won us the game. He had a very good game that day. I'll give him that. And in the group stage of the Europa League, he did quite well for us. Wouldn't say did great, but he did quite well for us. But it speaks volumes that the defender that no one wanted, including myself, has now probably become twice the defender that he is on current form. And that really does speak volumes of how you can have all the ability in the world in this game, but if you don't have the right mentality and the right footballing intelligence, you're not going to cut it in the Premier League. I mean, one of my ex-housemates of mine that played non-league football, called Sam, he once told me that there's three things in football. There's technical ability, there's pace, and then there's intelligence. And if you've got two of those three things, you'll get by. Diop has all the athletic ability, but he doesn't have the pace or the intelligence for the Premier League, in my opinion. And I'm a little bit surprised that Fulham are throwing money at him. I expected him to go back to Europe, where he might a bit of a slower pace. He might be able to rebuild his career. I actually think this is a pretty poor decision from his side. I'd have bided my time and see if I was him, get a free transfer back to Europe, where he could probably rebuild his career, go over to Italy or Spain, where it's a bit slower. But it's his life. I wish him well. Unlike Jeff, I have no ill will towards Fulham. I don't mind Fulham. They're inoffensive. You know, I liked Steve Malbronk. I really liked him. Thought he was a quality footballer. And I've had some good players over the years. But, you know, I do wish him well, even if he is a clown.
What? Sorry, I just want to add on onto the end of while Jeff was going on there. Something that I saw on the socials with Diop was this social media message that he's put, which, you know, kind of like what Jeff touched on there with, you know, lack of respect in his teammates by making himself unavailable for the last two games. That's also two fingers up, not just at the club, but also us as supporters as well. I think there's a right way and there's a wrong way about leaving, and he's leaving in the wrong way, in my view. Although I do wish him well on his next journey. But what I would also add on is that we do seem to have a bit of history, don't we, with French players refusing to play and sulking, and Diops obviously carrying on that form, unfortunately.
Who are you talking about, Mark? Is it Youssef Sofian?
That is a blast from the past.
But what surprised me with Diop, the one very quick conversation, is the fact that he was the one showing Cornet around, and I'm like, why is he the one showing Cornet around? If he is on his way out, I wouldn't want anyone on their way out being toxic around a new signing. I'd give him a Bono. He's the happiest man in the world. You know?
Yeah. Well, speaking of Maxwell Cornet, obviously West Ham, we signed him last week, paid the release clause in his contract at Burnley. Very exciting signing, in my opinion. I mean, Mark, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, as you said, it's an exciting signing. I think that the facts, you always get a good feel about a player when, you know, what sort of feedback you get from the club that he's leaving, you know, their supporters. And I think that you know, Burnley are obviously, they understand why he's gone, and obviously I think that they're pleased that he's gone to a club that are, you know, sort of on the, you know, the sort of top six, knocking on that door type of thing. I think he got 9 goals, was it, last year in the league or so for Burnley, and I think if he'd probably hadn't gone off to the African Cup of Nations, I think that probably had an impact on Burnley going down, and maybe he might have, you know, scored another sort of 4 or 5 goals, and that may have been the difference.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think the fact that he's a kind of a typical Moyes signing in some respects, because he's versatile. He can obviously play, through the, as a central striker, wide left, wide right, left wing back, right wing back, wherever. I think that Moyes obviously likes to have that in his team. And I think one of the things that I do like, and I think it was probably lacking a little bit on Sunday. Obviously, first and foremost, you've got to get hold of the ball and you've got to use it in the right way. But Moyes obviously wants us in these against the big, certainly probably the big six. He probably wants to set us up so that we can get on the counter. And I think having someone like Cornet in that starting 11, I think will play into our hands. Likewise, if he brings him off the bench, for the last sort of 20 minutes or so, get him up against the tired left back, right back, whatever it may be. I think again that could have an impact, on the outcome of the game. And I think it just gives us, another dimension as a club. Plan B, plan C, whatever you might, however far down you want to go, and just gives us that opportunity, I think, to try and do, maybe surprise teams a little bit, whereas we haven't always been able to do that in the past. But can't wait to see him play, and hopefully he'll be involved on Sunday against Forest.
No, good stuff, mate. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. It was good to see him before the game against Man City being paraded in front of the London Stadium. So, Jeff, what would you make of Cornet signing for West Ham?
Well, I can't think of a better way to spend 17 million in this market. I think that's a cracking signing. Obviously, helps with a release clause being in his contract after a relegation. But I think it's a cracking signing for the versatility that Mark mentioned in a squad that's as thin as ours. To have versatile players, he's pretty handy. And if he can get 9 goals in 28 games for Burnley, I mean, they're not as bad as Fulham, but they're not they're not the best side, are they? They don't create a lot. So for him to do that, I think if he's playing with a bit of quality around him, which we've got a little bit of that in there, haven't we? I think he's going to turn out to be a great signing. Obviously, he seems like he's left a good impression on the Burnley supporters, not just for his football, but for the way he was around the place and the way he was with the supporters. So I just think really he's got all the tools in his locker to become a big player for us for the next few years. So it's happy days for me.
Yeah, hope so, mate. Dennis?
As I said, under 20 million, no brainer. Versatile as hell. He can play up top, left wing back. I'm pretty certain for Leon he played as a 10 at one point. He played wide right a little bit for Burnley last year. He can take a good free kick, and he's just a pure athlete. I mean, we talk about him coming on. Imagine, we've got Skamaka up top, and let's say we start 4-0 Ben Rama out left, bringing him and Antonio on against tired legs with 15-20 minutes to go. It's going to be interesting. He genuinely looks buzzing to be here. I think the thing that really did it for me as well is when Darmish FNX corroborated this, is that there was lots of clubs looking at him, but as soon as West Ham came into it, that was the only club he wanted to go to. And look at that in comparison to Issa Diop. I say no more.
You sure, Dennis? Would you like to go on a tangent?
I mean, I could, but I think that's it. I think because I think Mark and Jeff have pretty much summed up for me. Although I also quite like Burnley. But, look at that compared to what's going on right now with Issa Diop.
I've got absolute respect for Burnley just to grind it out every season with fairly average players, a homegrown manager. I think they did a great job to grind it out and stay, and I think they overachieved for as long as they did, and I think they did a great job. So yeah, certainly no disrespect at all to Burnley, but last season they weren't very good. Yeah. They got relegated, so that's not pointing out anything that's that they don't know themselves. But he was obviously a bright spark within that. So it's good news for us.
I mean, sadly, them going down disproved my one theory of that in a nuclear war, the only thing that will survive is cockroaches and Burnley Football Club.
Anyway, back to West Ham. So, I think, I completely agree with everything you guys have said. I think one of the quotes from David Moyes was really good to hear. Versatile player, good experience both in the Premier League and European football, and what adds strength and quality to our squad. He says he made an impact with his performances for Burnley last season, and he has impressed me with his desire to improve and challenge himself further here at West Ham. So that's, I think, a sentence we could all love to hear. I think, I think he's a very obviously direct player. He runs with the ball. I think our left side, no one's really nailed down in that position. You guys mentioned Ben Rama and Fornells. I don't think any of them are automatic starters. So I think Cornet, if he gets up to speed, it wouldn't be surprised if he actually starts a lot of games this season, especially with the amount of games we are going to play. So that's good news for West Ham that we've signed Cornet. It's just say for under 20 minutes. That's an absolute bargain in today's football. So a bit of fun for the last topic of today's episode. So obviously we had the opening game of the season on Sunday. Didn't go to plan, but there's been a few good games, opening games of the season since the year 2000. So each of the guys, we're all going to pick our favourites since the year 2000. Plenty of good games to choose from. So Jeff, do you want to go first on this one?
No. So for transparency, before we came on, I was saying to the boys that I can't really remember the game at the weekend.
That's why you're going first, Jeff.
let alone the opening game from 2000. So I'm just going to go with beating Newcastle 4-2 because I can't remember many good opening days. I mean, I think you mentioned it earlier, Dennis, that you've got to go back to Slaven Bilic's first season in charge, and I can't remember back that far. I don't even know if we won that game or not. So
I'm sure one of us will pick that game. So just wait.
I'll leave it to you who have like telepathic memories. I don't know how you do it.
over to back to the studio.
Google's a good tool, Jeff. I'll tell you that much.
He's too ordering up batches of pints all day, Bill. He ain't got time for that.
True, yeah. Working out how much the price demand rather than the 760 at the stadium. Well, that game, Jeff, that was
cracking game. Yeah. I remember it well.
Yeah. I bet you remember who scored as well, mate.
Keep it out.
Anyway, 4-2 last season. That was good. A good one to kick it off there. Dennis, I'm sure you got loads, mate.
I've got a few. 02-03 losing 4-0 to Newcastle.
That's one of your favourites.
I'm joking. For God's sake, I'm joking. No. Philip's first game in charge, beating Arsenal 2-0. I mean, mainly because it was off the back of the Allardyce years. And I remember I put up a bit, like, it came up in my Facebook memories today because I posted that GIF of Mark Noble doing the interview. He goes to the interview, like, a grimacing smile of like, oh my God, can't believe it. And I was saying, like, under Allardyce, we'd have sat back 1-0 after going, we'd have sat back after going 1-0 up and probably lost it 2-1. We kept attacking them. And what made it even sweeter is my now ex-stepdad, but stepdad at the time, was having a barbecue with his workmates, so all Arsenal fans, all giving it about how they're going to smash us. The other, I think he had a bet that they were going to win by 3-1 or 3 clear goals or something like that. And my mates were over. We're both United. One was a United fan, one was a Liverpool fan, and we were all just going mental when they were winning, including a photo where Wenger's looking pretty depressed at stoppage time, and we were all just going Wenger out. So that was quite fun, watching it surrounded by drunk bus drivers that all support Arsenal, who were giving it large, and then we'll turn around second half. Ozil's going to do you. He's going to assist everyone, and we smashed them. Other than that, beating Villa first game up when we got after getting promoted under Allardyce for similar reasons. In that I worked with quite an obnoxious Aston Villa fan at uni, so it was quite nice to get one over on him as well.
So Kevin Nolan scored.
Kevin Nolan scored an absolutely it was one of the most shithouse performances.
It was so shithouse 1-0.
Shithouse 1-0. And James Collins, I think in modern day James Collins definitely would have had 2 bookings for the amount he kicks Darren Bent around that day. But James Collins on his second debut for us absolutely bullied Darren Bent off the pitch. I remember hearing. But there's so many good, decent opening games, good opening games. But my personal favourite is the first one under Bilic for what it represented from post Allardyce. And, be careful what you wish for is what we kept getting told, even until kickoff. Be careful what you wish for. Inexperienced manager. Playing 2 up top against Arsenal. This might not end well for you. We won 2-0. And Zarate scored a pretty decent goal as well that day, which people don't
Yeah.
really speak about. But yeah,
It's good for kept clean sheet as well. And there's a few I thought of. Like you said, Dennis, the Arsenal one was the standout one. Going way back now to 2003, when West Ham beat Preston 2-1 was quite a pretty memorable one. You guys having a bit of fun. You Dennis, you and Mark, with Neil Mellor, who obviously played in that.
And David Noble.
And David Noble, who were in the squad that day. Infamously, Neil Mellor started ahead of David Connolly. David Connolly come on and scored I think he scored the winner, didn't he? And he had a few choice words for Glenn Roeder afterwards. Yeah. But the one I'm going to pick for my favourite opening day is in 2005 after our promotion win against Preston. It's in August 2005 where we beat Blackburn 3-1. So Blackburn at the time were a really good side. We were 1-0 down at half time, but then absolutely blitzed Blackburn in the second half with Teddy Sheringham scoring early on the second half, Nigel Reo-Coker, the captain, and Matty Everton for sealing the win with 10 minutes to go. So that was when we were 1-0 down early on. I think it was Andy Todd that scored. I thought, oh god, here we go after sort of the build up of getting the good players in pre-season, Konchesky and Gavidon and all that. But Yossi Benayoun, and we're like, then we lose to Blackburn after 20 minutes or whatever. Thought, here we go, kind of thing. Typical West Ham. But then, as I say, a good side Blackburn at the time, and we blew them away. And it's set to an unbelievable season in the end. So that's right up there for me. Mark?
Yeah, some of the ones that you and Dennis have said are on my list, but one that I have got down there. Actually, I'm going for the first game of the Great Escape season.
Yes,
that's a good one.
And obviously Colton Cole's debut, scored
first touch.
Yeah, first touch, and just obviously from being on from the high of the previous season, obviously where we finished 9th in the league, obviously. As disappointing as the game that I won't mention was for us, I think we still obviously were on that buzz, thinking that we could just turn up and kind of like what the feel good factor is about the club at the moment. I think just turn up and almost just beat anybody really, and I think the atmosphere that day as well was a bit of a party atmosphere. So I think I'm gonna, for a point of difference, I'm gonna plumb for that one.
Good interesting with that one is I was in France that day. Rare family holiday when I was born. I remember we had the French football highlights ran with the English clubs. It was lightning speed, and it was like all they showed was the goals. And I just remember I was adamant we had won 2-1 because Zamora's one, the proper scrappy one. I thought that was a near miss they showed. I didn't realise it was a goal. So I got home. I thought we'd won 2-1. I was like, wait, we won 3-1. What? I thought Colin Cole came on and won us the game. No, that went in. The one where it was like I think Luke Young tries to clear it off the line and ends up kicking it in the air or something. It's like, I think the commentary watching back on YouTube is like it's a scrappy bouncing ball over the line. The West Ham fans don't care. They lead 2-1. I was like, I thought that went wide or something. But on the other side, Blackburn Rovers, a goal that doesn't get spoken about enough. Reo-Coker's was a belter that day. That was beautiful. And Sheringham was a beautiful instinctive finish from him. But yeah, and also there's a lot of buzz around that Blackburn side because they just signed Shefty Kuchi, been smashing it in the Championship, and thought, okay, time for him to step up. And they'd got Bellamy, that was a real coup for them. I think Blackburn were being tipped as like the dark horses for Europe that year. Like, they were tipped to maybe finish 5th ahead of like the likes of Spurs and Everton and whatnot. So that was quite a good look, quite very good, very fantastic performance. But equally, just funny story with that one you're on about, Mark. I was adamant it was 2-1 till I got back off the ferry and was like, hang on, our goal difference is +2 and we played 2 games. What? But we drew with what? Oh, we must have beat Charlton 3-1. Okay.
The same as the Blackburn one, weren't we 1-0 down? Didn't Charlton take the lead as well?
Yeah, penalty.
I did.
I can't remember who scored. I think it was Darren Bent. But it was definitely a penalty.
Probably
early doors. I think 10 minutes in or something.
Oh, good stuff. Well, it's a shame we didn't get a classic opening day win on Sunday, but it's Man City rather than Charlton or Blackburn that we played.
So I've got one more mention just because of what it represented again.
Okay.
3-1 against 2-1 against Wigan opening day, but Dean Ashton scoring both those goals, and we thought, okay, he's back. I remember being like, okay, Dean's back, and then 4 games later, sadly, reality is often disappointing, to quote Thanos. But we, it all came crashing down. But both those goals, like his body language after we scored them as well, he probably had his confidence back at last as well. But that was another great opening day win.
Can we do breaking news on this show, or do you want to talk about it off there?
It won't be breaking news because it's recorded, but
we might as well go for it now, mate, before we finish up.
Yeah. So we've got the Conference League playoff has been announced. So we've got the winner, and we're off to Denmark.
Yeah.
I think they pronounce it.
Viborg, yeah. Damn it! I wanted to go Faroe Islands. I wanted to go to the Faroe Islands.
We're all the trips to the Faroe Islands.
I remember when they drew 2-2 with Scotland that time. Probably one of the biggest upsets in football history.
That's a throwback. Jesus.
Yeah, at the time I think the Faroese only had one professional footballer, and it was the goalkeeper.
Oh, God.
And they had like Paul Lambert, who was a Champions League winner, playing.
Wow. 97, then 97, 98, something like that.
That's when he won it, but this would have been Euro 2004 qualifiers. Can't remember who scored for Scotland that day, but they had like Christian Daly and Don Hutchinson were playing. Like we were in the Championship when it happened.
Well, no, in Scotland for James McFadden. He always scored for Scotland.
Yeah,
all right. Well, nice one, Dennis, Jeff, Mark. Thanks for joining us. That was great, and we'll chat soon. Thanks, lads, for your input. So thanks everyone for watching. Subscribe to the West Ham Way if you're new, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. It'd be great to read those. We'll see you soon. All the best.